Hi guys, welcome. And who dat? I'm Joe, and today we are going to review the 2024 NFL Draft Class for our beloved Bless You Boys in black and gold, the New Orleans Saints. Now, I've been trying to record this video all day and I've been having issues, and I surely hope this one goes well. Kind of like the way I feel about the draft. I've got issues with it. A lot of the national perspective is that the Saints did pretty good. I think PFF may have gave the Saints an A+. I've seen lots of outlets giving them A's. And there's a lot about this draft that I really like. Let's pull it up. These are the 7 picks the Saints made. And overall, I got to say, when I look at the list of players, I'm pleased. The Saints grabbed a lot of players that I was pretty high on. Fuaga was my number one choice at pick 14 for the Saints. I thought when it was all said and done, Fashanu was going to be gone, Alt was going to be gone. But I thought if Fashanu and Fuaga were there, I thought I was leaning a little more towards Fuaga right going into the draft because I thought right tackle was a bigger need. So, yeah, I think Trevor Penny can hold up on the left tackle better than I think Ryan Ramchek's going to hold up with his health. That's the way it goes. So Fuaga is the best pick in the draft, A+ pick. Saints didn't go wrong there at all. I think you look at the list of players after that, the only one that I have questions about is Ezerim. You're going to have to correct me on the pronunciation. I never looked into the offensive tackle from Eastern Kentucky. But when you're grabbing him with almost Mr. Irrelevant pick at 239 here, you go ahead and take a chance. He's got a big body and stuff like that. So, maybe we hit gold with this guy. Take a chance, fine. But all the other players, McKinstry, Rattler, Means, Ford, Boyd, I had very high grades on all of them. I'm particularly excited about Jalen Ford at linebacker, Christian Boyd at defensive tackle. I think they were pretty good value picks. Bub Means, to me, was a bit of a reach, but he fit the prototype of what I thought we needed at wide receiver. And Spencer Rattler and Kool-Aid McKinstry were high value picks from where they were picked. But I have issues about the draft, so let's talk about it. Fuanga's a home run. There's no doubt about it. That's my Sambu boy right there. Sam Davis Mills Jr. He's not the field mouse. I call him the mongoose. Okay, so let's talk about pick 2. This is the one I have an issue with. We move up 4 spots. We give up a 5th round pick and a 6th round pick. Okay, it's not expensive, the 5th round and 6th round. You still have 5 day 3 picks. But you go up and you get McKinstry. This is the issue I have with it. When the Saints made the trade, the Raiders pick, or whoever picked at right before 41, whoever picked at 40, it was either the Eagles or the Raiders. Somebody. They didn't turn their pick in yet. The Saints made the trade. They're waiting. Then the pick goes in, and it's Cooper DeJean. And after the fact, Dennis Allen said, well, we had a couple of players in mind when we made that trade. And I'm thinking, yeah, the Saints made the trade before the pick was even turned in because they were like, hey, we like Kool-Aid. We like Cooper DeJean. If one gets picked, we'll take the other. I think the move up is worth it if it's Cooper DeJean because he fits an immediate need of playing nickelback or box safety. Plus, he provides youth at outside corner and at safety. But with Kool-Aid McKinstry, I don't know if you get a nickelback in that. I don't know. You get a good outside corner, but he may end up being our 4th cornerback. But I said he was worth a pick if he fell into the 2nd round. Well worth the pick. Too good to pass up. But you didn't pass him up. You didn't let him come to 45. You moved up to get him. So If Cooper DeJean hadn't gotten taken and we would have drafted him at pick 41, I would say this move was great. McKinstry, well, that all depends. You get rid of Marshawn Lattimore, and then, yeah, this is a very high value pick. Overall, the player's a very good value in the second round, regardless. So I don't have too much of a complaint about that. However, outside cornerback is something we didn't need unless you're trading Lattimore or unless you don't plan on paying a Debo or you plan on letting Taylor go or one of these guys in the mix has got to be gone. Otherwise, you moved up 4 spots and gave up 2 draft picks to go and get your number 4 cornerback. Maybe McKinstry plays nickel and everything works out pretty good. Maybe we trade Lattimore and we needed McKinstry after all. Then we sit there and wait, not 105 picks, but 109 picks before we pick again. Now, this is something no one thought the Saints were going to do, but we don't trade away future assets, which is good. And we end up with a total of 7 players, and I didn't think we'd have 5. I didn't think we'd have more than 6. So that's a positive, but there were moves that could have been made to get into the second round, in the mid rounds. You could have traded down from 45. So this is my issue. If you would have stayed at 45, you would have watched Kool-Aid McKinstry go. You would have watched probably Max Melton go. But then these are the players that were available at 45 or right after. So these are the players that were available had you stayed at 45 or had you traded down a few spots if you could have. And I think the Saints could have. They could have traded down no more than 5 spots, 6 spots, probably picked up a 4th round pick. If that deal wouldn't have come to fruition, you'd have still been picking at 45. Here's the players that were still on the board. Safety Tyler Nubin, who I thought was the best safety in the class. Defensive tackle Chris Jenkins, who was my favorite run-stopping defensive tackle in the class. Cornerback Mike Sainristil, who was the best nickelback after Cooper DeJean in the class. Wide receiver A.D. Mitchell, who was a great option for the X-receiver type, big body, could play the slot and run block and all that stuff. Edge rusher Marshawn Nealon, who's big enough to stop the run and can give you pass rush from the edge. And safety Cole Bishop, the best box safety in the class that would have been great to draft and cover tight ends, and that's what killed us on defense last year. But all those players were available, as well as Ennis Rakestraw, cornerback out of Missouri, who I had in the same tier as Kool-Aid McKinstry, and Nate Wiggins. So those were players at bigger positions of need for the Saints than outside corner that we could have taken at 45 or that we could have traded down and still taken. You could have got a safety, not an outside corner, a safety in Nubin, a defensive tackle in Jenkins, a nickel in Sainristil, a big wide receiver in Mitchell, an edge rusher defensive end in Nealon, a safety, box safety in Bishop, and then you still could have got the outside corner in Rakestraw. Had you stayed at 45 or had you traded down. So that's my biggest complaint. Lots of great players there. And if you would have traded down too far in the second round, you still could have ended up with Malachi Corley, who didn't go until the Jets took him late in the second round. You still could have got Jatavian Sanders, who didn't go until the beginning of the 4th round. But certainly, had you traded down too far in the second round, you still would have had your option at offensive lineman. Christian Haynes, the guard, my favorite in the bunch, is still there. Cooper Bebe was still there at guard. You had tackle guard options in Kingsley Suamataia and Dominique Puny. And Patrick Paul got picked in the second round. Roger Rosengarten got picked in the second round. Matt Gonsalves got picked in the second round. So there was lots of offensive line value there as well. Just saying, instead of trading up and getting an outside corner, you could have traded back and fit much bigger needs, unless you're trading Lattimore. You could have filled much bigger needs in safety, defensive tackle, offensive guard, another offensive tackle, a nickelback, a wide receiver, an edge rusher, defensive end, and still could have got a safety with Rakestraw. So then if you would have picked up a third round, late third round, or fourth round even, you would have been in the market for another cornerback if that was something you were interested in. Tyke Smith got drafted by Tampa Bay, I think in the third round, and we're going to have to play him twice a year now, and he was one of my favorite nickelback options in this draft. So you had Elijah Jones that you could have gotten in the fourth round, who could have been a good outside corner for you. Jerry and Jones was still there, who would have made a great nickelback for you. You could have got him in the fourth round. I'm just saying, you could have traded down and filled two needs. You could have got A.D. Mitchell in the second round, and then in the fourth round, you could have picked up Brandon Dorless, who would have been an edge or a defensive tackle, something like that. Brandon Dorless went to Atlanta, so we get to play him twice a year. All right, so let's look at the rest of the draft now. Pick 150, and we wait all those picks. We don't move. We don't trade away future assets. So plus for the Saints for doing that. But 150 comes in the fifth round, and we grab quarterback Spencer Rattler out of South Carolina. This is the pick everybody loves, the greatest value there is, and it's probably true. I had a late third round, fourth round grade on Spencer Rattler. The run on quarterbacks in the first round led me to believe Rattler was going to get taken in the second round. When he wasn't, I was sure he was going to get taken in the third round. That didn't happen. And then in the fourth round, nobody grabs him or the Tulane quarterback, Michael. Yeah. So unbelievable, but Rattler lasts until the fifth round. I can't think of the guy's name. Pratt. Golly, I'm Space Cadet. I admit to all of that. So yeah, Michael Pratt was there and Spencer Rattler was there. I don't think Pratt got taken until the seventh round by Green Bay. So getting Spencer Rattler's pretty good value. The problem is I don't think quarterback's necessary. Now, I guess this means Clint Kubiak isn't very high on Jake Haener after all. So you go ahead, Kubiak, you grab yourself your quarterback in Spencer Rattler. And I have a feeling Rattler's going to beat out Haener. I have a feeling this is going to happen. I'm pretty sure. Now, whether we keep Haener as the number 3 or whether we keep Janoko's guy or Kubiak's guy, the veteran, one of them as number 3, Kellen Mond or Nathan Peterman, I'm pretty sure Rattler's going to have this backup job here, at least be the number 3. And Haener's going to have to play his butt off if he wants to win this job now. So, yeah, great value. Everybody loves it. What could the Saints have done differently? Well, they could have addressed a position of need instead. And like I say, the value for Rattler and the fact that it could be Kubiak's guy is value enough for me, so I'm fine with it. But offensive tackle Christian Jones got drafted shortly after that by the Arizona Cardinals, and I'm going to keep an eye on him because I thought he would have been a great second tackle pick for the Saints. And also Tyrone Tracy, the running back / wide receiver, got picked shortly after that. He went to the Giants. I had Tracy pegged as one of those X-Factor guys. He would have filled 2 needs, wide receiver and running back. And I'm going to keep an eye on Tyrone Tracy because, one of my favorite players. But the value for Rattler's there. I'm not going to complain too much. Then at 170, we get wide receiver Bub Means out of Pittsburgh. I had Bub Means targeted in the late rounds, late 6, or with that 199 and a 6, or with our 7th round pick. If you don't get a big body wide receiver early in the draft, he was one of the options. He is built pretty much exactly like Xavier Legette or Legette. So, yeah, Bub Means is 6'1", 220, right around there. So, big guy, like not tall, and neither was Legette. But yeah, a big body that we could use. So Means doesn't have all of the production in the world. I think his coaching is pretty good, and I'm expecting Means to make this roster. So that's only issue I have with Means, player that I really like, but you take him in the 5th round. There's other players you could have gotten later on. I know for a fact after we picked Christian Boyd in the 6th round, there was a couple of wide receivers that fit that body type that Means does that we could have gotten. Players that I liked slightly better than Means. Wide receiver Ryan Flournoy got drafted after we drafted in the 6th round. And after we drafted in the 6th round, you also saw Brendan Rice go, and then Cornelius Johnson. Those 3 guys, Flournoy, Rice, Johnson, all fit the body type that Means fits. So I think getting Means in the 5th round is a bit of a reach. But I like the player and I can't complain. Shortly after Means was drafted, Isaiah Davis went to the Jets, the running back from South Dakota State. So another X-Factor type that we see go off the board. And yeah, at that point, I'm not sure who the Saints need to be focusing on. Yeah, if Rattler doesn't get taken by us at 150 and we don't take him and instead we get offensive tackle Christian Jones or Tyrone Tracy, something like that, then maybe Rattler's still there at 170 and we grab him then. Instead, we grab Bub Means, and I like the player, just kind of a reach. And like I said, Flournoy, Rice, and Johnson were available in the 6th, 7th round. So, okay, at pick 175, 5 picks later, we grabbed Jalen Ford, and he was one of my top 6 favorite linebackers in the draft. Out of Texas, I love it. He was one of the only guys I could see that could actually be talented enough to play the will or the middle. There was only like 5 of them, 6 of them total that I could see actually fitting all over the place. And Ford is one of them. And so I'm very excited. He's good in coverage. He forced a lot of turnovers and 100+ tackles every year in the last 2 years. I think Jalen Ford's going to make this team. I think he's going to be effective on special teams, and I think he's going to be very active this preseason. And we have ourselves a great pick. My favorite pick in the draft is Fuaga. Fuaga was my favorite. And I think Jalen Ford and Christian Boyd are right there for my second favorite. We do take Christian Boyd out of Northern Iowa. We pick 199 in the 6th round. And yeah, if we wouldn't have traded up, we would have had pick 168 in the 5th round. So we would have gotten somebody before Bub Means. And then we would have had pick 190 in the 6th round, which would have been 9 picks before we got Christian Boyd. So, okay. We get Christian Boyd, and I love it. He's big. He's strong. He's got athleticism. He needs to learn how to rush the passer, but this is where the Saints take big-bodied defensive tackles, and this is something we needed, a run stopper. And he's really strong, and I want to see strength exhibited from the middle of the defensive line this year. It would be nice. And I can't complain about that pick at all. However, Christian Mahogany was still on the board. And I thought Mahogany was a guy we were getting in the 5th round. We had him for a visit. Maybe the visit worked against him. Maybe Mahogany was just not good enough to be ahead of Bub Means or Jalen Ford or Christian Boyd. But yeah, Christian Mahogany gets drafted after we pick in the 6th round. And so does Miles Harden, the cornerback. I think he could have been a nickel option for us. And running back Dylan Lobby gets drafted after we picked in the 6th round. And Lobby was one of those X-Factor types once again. And I keep mentioning them. Tracy went right after we got Rattler. Isaiah Davis went right after we got Means. And Dylan Lobby goes right after we get Christian Boyd. So just mentioning it, but I still think Boyd's a great value. And I really like what we did in the late rounds. Rattler, Means, Ford, and Boyd are all great picks. And with our last pick in the 7th round, we get Josiah Ezerim, and out of Eastern Kentucky, defensive tackle for 2 years. He's only been playing offensive tackle for 2 years. It's absolutely insane. He's going to have to go on the practice squad. He's going to have to learn how to play offensive tackle. But that arm length is so good and so impressive. And he's a physical specimen at 6'6" and 329. So he's a big boy. And yeah, good development in just 2 years at the position. He hasn't allowed a sack yet. So that's probably my least favorite pick, besides moving up to get McKinstry, who I still think is going to be a great pro. I can't complain about a 7th round pick. Ezerim. Can't complain about it. Late, big guy, develop him. Let's see what happens. So, now here's my other complaint about the draft. Of course, we didn't address positions of need. Going with outside cornerback and quarterback, and then to a certain extent, linebacker, because we addressed that pretty good in free agency. I'll give them compliments for grabbing 2 offensive tackles. I give them a compliment for grabbing a defensive tackle. We needed that. And we needed a big-bodied wide receiver. So we met some needs. But outside corner, quarterback, and linebacker were not necessarily top needs. I think way before that, you needed a nickel cornerback. You needed an interior offensive lineman. You needed another running back. You could have used a tight end. And you could have used another defensive lineman. You know, we got one defensive tackle who can stop the run, but okay, so now you have 4. You still could have used another guy there, or a defensive end, a big-bodied defensive end. I think you could have used. And then, of course, a glaring need in this draft with so many cool options to get an X-Factor type player. Someone like Jaheim Bell, who went in the 7th round. Someone like Jatavian Sanders, who went in the 4th round. You know, somebody like one of these running backs I mentioned. Tyrone Tracy in the 5th round. Isaiah Davis in the 5th round. Dylan Lobby in the 6th round. And then Blake Watson out of Memphis. He doesn't get drafted, and we don't get him to our camp. Sean Payton gets him for Denver's camp. So I was a little excited about that, because Watson's a guy I think, if we got a hold of him, would make this team. So if he ends up on Peyton's practice squad, well, it's just like our practice squad players. Peyton can come and grab them, and we can go and grab him. All right, so there's my complaints, my highs and my lows. My overall grade is B-. That's what I'm going with. I think overall the players we got were great. I just think there's some maneuverability there, examination of the draft, addressing needs, and we're going to have to pay attention to free agency. I'm going to be doing a video in a little while focusing on the undrafted rookies that we have acquired, and we're going to talk about how those are filling some of the needs that we missed in this draft. You know, we're going to need a lot more running backs. I think we need to get another running back and another tight end into the building, even after undrafted guys. We only got one undrafted rookie running back and only one undrafted rookie tight end, who's a great tight end and could have been a draft pick, and my favorite undrafted rookie we've gotten so far. Subscribe to Rosenfield 10, and I'll be releasing that video. And then shortly after that, I'll be releasing videos examining the Saints roster as it currently stands with all of these new additions. I'm Joe, and until the next one, I'll talk to you later. Who dat?